Now, global oil prices have surged past $100 a barrel for the first time since 2022 as tensions in the Middle East continue to escalate. The spike is expected to push petrol prices higher, with analysts warning the upward trend could continue. UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves is set to join an emergency meeting of G7 finance ministers later today to assess the situation. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump says the short-term rise in oil prices is a small price to pay for peace. Now, to discuss more on this, we're joined by a professor of humanitarian, Mukesh Kapila. Thank you so much for joining us. It's quite interesting to see the turn of events and how this is gradually shaping the globe, especially oil prices. Now, what does Mojtaba Khamenei's appointment as Iran's new supreme leader mean for the direction of the ongoing war in the Middle East?
I think all the signals that are coming out of Tehran following the new supreme leader's appointment is that Iran will intensify its resistance, and all the analysis suggests that although many of its military assets have been destroyed, it retains considerable punch. So, at least in the short term, we're going to see an intensification of the fighting, with Iran retaliating against the US and US allies in the Gulf. And of course, then the Americans and the Israelis are going to intensify their attacks on Iran. So it's going to get worse in the short term.
So oil prices have surged sharply following the escalation. What could this conflict mean for global energy markets and the world economy in general?
Yes, the oil prices have already risen over $100, $110. And we are seeing the impacts already in many countries in terms of the cost of energy for domestic use. For example, not just for filling your car, but for other economy, in agriculture, for example, in transport, in the way the markets work, because petroleum still underpins the economy of the world. So we will see inflation rising, we will see shortages taking place, we might even see some disturbances in supplies, not just in agriculture certainly, but also in the industrial sector. And it reminds me a little bit really of what happened after COVID and what happened with the first shock of the Russia-Ukraine war. But this time around, I think because this will last for some time, I fear, we may see it really as a longer-term disturbance that may take some months before the world adjusts to it.
So what immediate impact could the escalating conflict between Iran and Israel have on African economies? We can already see the impact, particularly through the rising oil prices.
Yes, so Africa is highly dependent for importing its finished petroleum products. I mean, there are some countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and the countries Libya and so on that produce oil, and they will have a bonanza in terms of increasing their exports of oil. But overall, Africa is a net importer of petroleum products, and the cost of that is obviously bound to go up, and that will percolate through to the economy. The secondary effects are, for example, inflation. It will also mean there'll be big pressure on African currencies, which will affect the balance of payments of many countries. That in turn will drive cost of living for ordinary people, and especially for the poorest people. This is going to have significant day-to-day impact, and I think we're already beginning to see that in the last week.